Welcome, welcome, welcome to my first podcast, Everyone Deserves a Chance. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how to enter the commercial real estate game when you just heard about it. I'm going to start this podcast by telling you a story. Because I've been thinking about it for over 10 years and I couldn't find enough energy to actually pull the trigger and move into this direction. Um, let's say that I've been in the commercial real estate space for a very little time, started somewhere in December, but I've been into the real estate arena for about 20 years, more or less. It started with me buying my first piece of land. I did it overseas. I didn't do it over here in the United States because I was in the United States, but had no idea if I'm going to be here for long. So that's how my journey started. Fast forward, took a job, worked in construction a little bit, did some of these architecture marvels of the world in Manhattan. I can say I worked in skyscrapers, bridges, tunnels, local Union 15D in New York City. And while I was doing all these jobs for so many people that I worked for, I was always asking myself the same question. How do you get in? How do you get to be on the money side instead of the shovel side, like I always like to say it? And I've asked questions plenty of times to the supers, the people that I worked with, and I couldn't quite get in. Like every time there was a meeting, owners' meetings, or something important, Silvius Grant, that was a surveyor at the time, wasn't allowed into these circles. So I kind of made my way through becoming a small little entrepreneur. I got myself a mentor in 2016 when my first daughter was born. And with him, I started a personal development journey. And I'm still in it. I'm still doing it right now as we speak. My first mentor told me that I have to be a fly on the wall and go to meetups in Manhattan. Luckily, I was living in Queens at the time, Woodside, Queens, which is just few stops away from Manhattan. And I had the opportunity after work, after working from 7 to 3:30, 7 to 4, 7 to 5 sometimes, to go home, change really quick, have a shower, change, and get out, put a suit on, and go to these meetups. So what I found out that lots of people from different walks of life, man, they were entrepreneurs. They were doing so many businesses. Like the one that stuck with me forever was this guy that was owning a barber shop, and he was one of the most successful guys I ever met. He owned a couple of blocks in buildings, blocks, right, in Brooklyn. And he was so quiet at the time. I found out, I think, about a year later that the guy owns so many buildings in Manhattan. I was like, wow, country club, right? That's what a barbershop is. I just didn't realize it wasn't for golf. It was for everyday people like me that were going there and telling their stories. And this guy was picking and choosing the businesses he was associating himself with. And he was fairly successful, I got to tell you that much. But the point is that I am at heart a construction worker. I've been working in construction in Connecticut. I did residential homes for almost 11 years, and then I moved to New York for better jobs, better opportunities. I joined a local union after I got myself a bachelor's degree. And with 10 years of experience, I was able to join a local union and I start working on bigger projects. And I put my name on some infrastructure projects. I even worked 3 weeks at Freedom Tower, and I think that was one of my best projects. Although I was underground, working on the bottom of the building, we were doing the tracks for the new railroad that was going under there. But I had my name up there, and I was proud of doing it and all the work and everything else. It's just that I wanted more. Like I figure my 9 to 5 is not going to cut it. I have a private pension. I had an annuity at the time. I still have those, but not a lot of money in them. Although the local unions in New York City are paying very good money, it's still not enough when you have a family of four, at least like mine, 2 kids and a homestay mom, because at the time we couldn't afford any better. It just didn't cut it. I was making enough money to go by, but nothing else. And then the mentality, man, you got to work your way through it. mentality of a worker, the carrot on the stick syndrome. I was always thinking of pension, all the money they're gonna come with it, and like instead of living in today's moment, I was always like far away, man, into somewhere into nowhere, right? I was always thinking about, my God, when I'm gonna get to retire, my annuity account is gonna be over $2 million, or I don't know. I think I was projecting on my $2 million. I have no idea why, because that number is not real, it's not legit. But in my circle of trust and the people that I was talking to, 30 plus years in the union, they were vehiculating numbers over $1 million. So I figured if they're talking about $1 million now, inflation, by the time it's gonna go, I'm gonna be over $2 million. So that's kind of how I got that number in my head. But then I was going to work and being happy with the at first less than $1,000 a week. Then later on the paycheck grew to over $1,000 a week. But that was kind of the medium income for everybody that I knew. So that was my circle of trust. Everybody in my circle of trust was making more or less the same amount of money. Some of my peeps were making more, but they weren't honest enough to tell me. So I found out years later they were making a lot more money than that. But that's fine. It's just that I thought they were making that much. So it's very important to establish a couple of things here. The people that you associate yourself with, right? That's your medium income, and when you add those five people together, and you just do the medium income for everyone there, you're gonna realize your number is probably a little bit higher because we always want to make a little bit more than the other, right? You want to be the best on the block. You want to be the best out of the five friends, or at least you think so. And everybody thinks the same way by himself. So when you take that number, divide whatever it is, the five people, you're gonna see that you all make almost the same thing. So this is what my mentor told me. He said, Silvius, you want to make more money, you want to become successful, you have to expand your circle of trust. You have to make new friends. So that was a little painful at first. I started working, walking this walk alone, if I can put it that way. My mentor and I, but my mentor was like, you got to do this, you got to do this. I see it as more work than anything else. But I went through it. I did a little bit at a time. I got accustomed to it. And that brings me to timing. So one of the important things here that I want to talk to you in this podcast is everybody has its own time, right? So for everybody's a little road that is specific for his needs and for his development. So you can't push in and rush it, and you think if you get a mentor, you're gonna cut the line, or if you're gonna make this kind of investment, you're gonna get rich quick. Well, I come to find out that your net worth very rarely supersedes your self-worth. Yes, I'm gonna say it again. Your net worth very rarely supersedes your self-worth. So this is where I want to say there are some steps for people that just want to enter commercial real estate. And I'm not talking about real estate because everybody that does a flip or owns a house thinks that is in real estate. But I want to make a distinction here. Real estate, it's real in the commercial space. And it's real because you do the numbers, the NOI, based on the rents. Right? So all the underwriting on a commercial deal, on a commercial property, it's done based on the reality of the numbers. It's real. If your net is this much and you have this much in expenses, this is the value of the building, right? So it's real because it takes the guessing part out of the real estate. On single family homes real estate, it's a guesswork. You're never going to guess the right amount. You're never going to guess the price of a house. You still need a third party. You need an appraisal to come in and tell you. You need your broker, dealer, or I don't know, the agent to come in and do comp for you, analysis, so you know exactly how much the price of the house is going to go for. So that to me is not real. That's guessing. You get a lot of people in there, a lot of mixed signals and mixed things that need to be adjusted and accounted for in order to come up with a real price. And I tell you this because that's how I started my career. I bought a property at first on an auction, and I still own it today. It was my first property here in the Poconos. I bought it in 2019. It was a single family home that I still own. And my second one was a flip that went bad. And I'm telling you this because I use the same exact builder, and he got me into buying the second property as being an amazing flip. And it turned out not to be such a great flip because I was guessing. I was guessing the projections on my budget, and I was way off, man. Like between my builder and I, we did a $45,000 budget, and at the end of it, COVID happened, unfortunately, as it was, but it's still a guessing game. I was over $200,000 in rehab for the same exact property. Yes, I did a little bit better than I was expecting, but it's still, I guess, the numbers. And because of that, the value never appreciated enough to allow me to sell it for a profit. So I ended up moving the property. I still live in the property right now. I'm in Strasburg, Pennsylvania. I ended up making a two-family, although we live in it. It's an awesome property, but financially wasn't the best, smartest move. I didn't know a lot of things. Like I didn't know the neighborhood. I had no idea that only old people live here and nobody stole the house in the past, I don't know, 5, 6 years. So because of that, my comps are always low. They're not coming up with the reality of building. So I don't know. I'm going to have to be here for a longer time, or I'm going to sell at a loss just so I can move out of the property. But that's another conversation. So single family home investors, I welcome you all. I understand how this works, and I know why you're in it and why you're doing it. But also, if you're looking at investing in commercial real estate, you have to up your game. You have to up your game mentally. So we have to understand the mechanics of the big money man. Big money are moving in the commercial space, and there's a huge reason for it. And it's not the only one, but it's the most important one. Every dollar in commercial real estate, every dollar that you add on your rentals monthly means $20 in the valuation of the building. And I'm going to repeat myself. Every dollar in rent increase equals $20 in the valuation of the building. So now for me, investing in commercial real estate is a no-brainer, right? $20 means every dollar that I'm raising. So pretty much I see everything in a multiplication now instead of adding and subtracting. I'm looking for that $20 increase, which is like $1 in rents every time I'm looking at the building. So when you analyze the building now, and there are a few options here. You can do value add, which is one of the most common. That's what most of people do. They do value add. They're buying a building with a thought they're going to renovate the apartments and they're going to be able to increase the rent. That's one. Another one is when you buy a building and you're waiting for the price to go up and you're not doing anything, you're just collecting the same exact rents. That's appreciation, right? So you got value add or appreciation. Appreciation comes in usually long-term holds, right? So these are the two game plans that most of the people that you hear of are playing. Grant Cardone is buying A-class properties in A zones, which is the best of the best, but his game plan is obviously appreciation. And he's playing a game called infinite returns because he's always getting money back when he refinances these buildings. So let's say the value goes up, I don't know, 20%, 30%. He refinances, he pulls the money out, right? And the mortgage is going to go up, but because of the real numbers are supporting the new debt, he's going to do this over and over, and that's called infinite returns. A lot of people are aiming for that. I'm going to aim for that too. I got some light over here. I look like Zorro a little bit. That's funny. That's Grant Cardone. That's what he does. But he's one of the big boys in the game. And this brings me to another point that I want to talk to you about. If you are planning on entering this field right now, because this is why I'm calling this Everyone Deserves a Chance, Grant Cardone kind of paved the way. I see him as a Robin Hood of our own times because he allowed me, Silvius Grant, to enter this field of commercial real estate investing without knowing much about this field. He created a fund where you can put your money in and then you can choose the investment that you want to. I can't say I'm 100% convinced about this way of doing business because he's so on a different level, on the next level for me. If you want to play a passive game, you can definitely do that. You can invest some money with Grant Cardone, Cardone Capital, I think it's called. You go in, you invest your money with him, and then you're expecting, I believe, a 6, 8, depending on the project return a year, right? So if you're happy with that kind of return, you just do that. It's a nice avenue of making some money. But sometimes I have a feeling that that's not the best play for your money. And this is where I started looking more into investing in myself. And I got associated with a team of people, and I'm going to shout out over here Alex Lovely. He is one of my mentors right now. He's one of my direct mentors, and we combined work within Legends Equity Group. And Legends, it's such a cool company because the projects that they're doing, they're really dear to me. They speak to me. We align, and that's something important. I'm going to talk about it in the future podcasts. But again, every one individual has their own timing. So if you're a beginner, if you just you had this thought that you want to start investing in commercial real estate because you heard somebody talking about the tax implications, the money that you're able to depreciate up front in year one, and based on your income, you think that this is a good fit. So yeah, I can tell you, yes, 100%. It's definitely a good fit. You have to understand the model. So I'm gonna give you a quick example. If you're investing $100,000 and the deal supports 100% of your investment tax deductible, right? Meaning they're going to do a depreciation up front of the whole entire property, and they're going to be able to offer you your K1, your form, with 100% deduction on your investment year one. Let's say we're going to do a hold of 5 years on this property. On year five, they're going to do a depreciation recapturing of the money that you depreciated up front. So if you had 100,000, you depreciate the whole 100,000. 5 years down the road, you're going to have to pay back the money that you depreciated up front. So they're going to subtract out of 27.5 years, I believe it is, the 5 years that you have, and the difference, the 22 years and a half, you're going to have to do what's called recapturing of your taxes, right? So this has huge tax implications. It can help you if you're running a lot of money. You can invest those money into a different deal. You can double the money that they're going to help you to pay off for this debt completely, entirely. You can roll it in a 1031 exchange, maybe into a new deal. If you're investing using your 401k, the money are going back into your 401k before taxes. There's so many implications to this and so many things. I'm going to leave it for some other conversation. I just want to tell you that yes, taxes play a major role into commercial real estate, and it's one of the reasons why the 1% of the 1% of the 1% are using this. Okay. Number two, and I'm going to give you another quick example because I don't know anything in the world that makes this kind of money. So if you invest $100,000 passively as a limited partner, so somebody comes in with a deal and says, listen, I'll do an 80-20, 70-30, 60-40, 90-10 split. I'm the general partner on this deal, and 10% on the 90-10 goes to me, and 90% comes back to you as an investor. This is how the deal is going to look like. We're going to do a 5-year hold, and we're going to sell the asset, right? And we're going to give you a multiplier of two. So you put 100,000, that means in 5 years, you're going to get back 200,000, right? I hear this a lot, and I'm using this as an example because pretty much after my homework, let's put it that way, it comes out to be the real deal, which tells me that in 5 years, I'm doubling my money from 100 to 200. If I hold another 5 years into a separate deal, and I'm going to double again, I'm going to be at 400,000 in 10 years. If I double again for another 5-year hold, I'm going to be at 800,000 in 15 years. If I hold it another 5 years in another deal, I'm going to be at $1.6 million, right? If I'm going another 5 years, a 20-year hold, 25-year hold, let's say, like, let's put it that way, I'm going to be at $3.2 million. And if I hold another 5 years, I'm coming up to a $6.4 million in 30 years hold. So what I'm telling you here is that 100,000 turns into $6.4 million in 30 years. So I want you to think hard on this one and come up with any kind of other investment, passive investment, that gives you that kind of return. Because this is where the major difference between single family home and commercial real estate comes in play. A single family home, if you hold a single family home for 30 years, let's say, historically speaking, real estate doubles every 10 years. But if you hold it for 10 years, let's say it's a 500,000, I'll give you an even number, $500,000 home. In 10 years, it's going to become 1 mil. Another 10 years is going to become 2 mil. And another 10 years, it's going to become 4 mil, right? God bless if it goes that route. But you're going to have $4 million. If you do commercial real estate, you're at $6.4 million. And I gave you the example where I am not taking the compound interest into the account. Here, I'm just giving you every 5 years, you flip the money, the easiest thing you can ever do. But I'll tell you this. If you take that 100,000, let's say that you put in for 5 years, and the builder or the partner, the syndicator, does a refinancing on the property after 3 years, which means you get back your initial investment, your 100,000, after 3 years. You take that 100,000 and you put it in deal 2, right? Now you have 100,000 in deal 2, and you still hold your position in deal 1 with another 100,000 left over for you to receive at the end of your 5 years hold. Now 5 years go by, you get the other 100,000, and you throw it in the third deal, right? Now you're in 2 active deals, one completed the cycle, it's closed, but you're positioning yourself for another refi on deal 2 that reaches 3 years, a year later after you put the second investment in. So now you're leveraging the 100,000 into 3 different deals, and you're already going into the 4th and the 5th. So now the compound interest that comes in out of these things, I'm not going to run the numbers with you, but you can possibly reach that $5 million threshold that I was talking about in maybe 15 years, right? If you play your cards right, I think that's what it is. And this is where people make money. And this is where me, Silvius Grant, enters the game. And the way I'm entering, I'm using my pension money, I'm using some of the annuity money. I'm pulling all my resources out, even my savings. I'm thinking of selling one of my houses right now to pull the equity out and just keep going this route. I am doing deals with equity, with the Legends Equity Group, but I also work and network with other people. Now, coming back down to the beginning stage of an investment in commercial real estate, I would say that there are certain circumstances that pushed me personally over the edge, and I'm sure there must be certain circumstances for you that you get pushed above the edge. For me personally, it comes down to paying capital gains tax after I sold 2 of my long-term hold properties. I was doing Airbnb in the Poconos. The economy didn't do very well. Got a little bit scared. I didn't optimize properly, and I sold 2 of my properties. Without thinking too much of the tax implication at the time, I thought I'm going to be able to figure something out. Towards the end of the year, last year, 2022, I panicked. Realized I hit the panic button. I realized I need something that's going to save me from the burden of taxes on the capital gains side. And I knew about 1031 exchange. It's just that in this environment, the circumstances, the prices didn't quite go down. The properties are priced the same way. And if I sold A to buy another property just like A, it doesn't do me any good. So I was looking for some deals. I couldn't find anything, so I got stuck with my money. And I'm subject to capital gain tax. Because of this, I started looking into something else. And here it is, Grant Cardone. He's marketing, aggressive marketing, 2,000 plus emails last year. They landed in my inbox. I clicked that link, scheduled one of those one-on-one calls, I think a sales call. And then after that, I ended up buying a $1,000 ticket for one of his live shows. I wasn't permitted to go to the live show in December, so I ended up on a Zoom call. And then from there, everything is history, because I'm going in March to a live event that I paid in December. But I've met a lot of people into these groups, so I started networking with them, talking more and more about commercial real estate. Grant offered in some kind of a program It was an introductory program about investing in commercial real estate, so I picked up on that. Bigger Pockets was in my life before that, and I just started looking into commercial deals and commercial real estate people in there. So I started expanding my network. I literally started with nobody. Like I didn't know anybody in commercial space doing active commercial deals. But what I knew is this, my pain point, I don't want to pay taxes on the money because I am not savvy enough to invest my money the right way. So that being said, this is what triggered me, and this is the circumstance that got me overboard. So I know everybody has a different circumstance. This was mine. I'm just sharing it so you kind of relate. I've met a whole bunch of people after that had the same exact pain point as me. And they admit it's like, yeah, that this is exactly how we started. This was the reasoning, and this is how we started looking into it. So the way to go about this, when you enter this crowd, oh my God, it's so crowded, man. It's the crowdedest space I've ever been to. I felt like I've been living in New York City for a while, and I've been doing lots of things in New York City, so I thought this was a Shark Tank. But when I got dropped in to this tiny, narrow Shark Tank in commercial real estate, it felt like I'm the smallest fish in the tank, and I'm swimming with great whites and orcas and you name it. And I think it's true. Commercial real estate is a big boys game where, everybody has to play the hardest game they have and the best game they have. And all in all, it's a relationship game. It's a building relationship game. And this is what makes a lot of people walk away from it and attracts a lot of people that are willing to take the steps and become uncomfortable and do the task and the things that they never done and they have to do in this space. So I would say the way a journey starts for some of the people is, first of all, because they're being pushed by circumstance to look into different options. For example, 401k dropped 23% last year. So if you're expecting that 401k is going to historically bring the 10% increase every year, well, you're up for a surprise because we don't know what's going to come next. So some people want to invest their 401ks. Some others have the self-directed IRAs they need to invest. Some others have some money because they sold some properties and they could not do the 1031 exchange into a different property and they don't want to pay capital gains. And there's so many reasons why people decide to get into the game. Some people are just curious and they really want to learn. So the best way to do it is to navigate this crowded space with mentors and everybody else and choose whatever it's a good fit for you. So if you don't want to jump in the pool like I did, because it's expensive, it's not cheap, I'm gonna admit it, it's expensive. One of the cheapest versions I've got, I I believe it cost me over $20,000 altogether just to join the club, the membership, and I signed up for a mentor. So this is how I did it. But I'm not recommending this to anybody else. There are some programs out there. Rod Khalif has a program that is it's in stages, it's in increments. It goes from I think $67 to 250, 2000, 6000, 7000. It keeps going up as you learn. But one of the best ways to do it is by these things behind me. And this is not fake. These are the real books. This is the real stuff. Yeah, it starts with something like this, and I'm gonna point it out. It's the Multifamily Millions. This is a really good book. There's so many good books out there. Bigger Pockets has lots of books on this line, but education is the number one thing, man. And I notice more and more that it has to do with personal development as well. So my podcast, that is, it's Everyone Deserves a Chance, started as a commercial real estate and is gonna stay this way up until I'm going to turn it into a personal development, because without the proper development, you're not going to be able to take the risk and the plunge in the commercial space. I want you to start thinking about it. This is my message today. I want you to start thinking about it. And then I want you to realize that this guy here, Silvius Grant, a construction worker in New York City, the guy with the yellow hard hat, right, was able to pull himself up and learn by reading and mentors how it's done the proper way. And as I'm going through all these courses, classes, seminars, I'm gaining more and more knowledge. I am going to be able to come back to you and express and share everything that I'm learning. And this is my goal this year. That's the reason why I'm doing this podcast. I really want to help a lot of people. I have a list of 1,000 people that I want to help this year. And I'm sure I'm going to reach the number. I'm going over 40 right now. I've been in it for a month and some change, and now I'm reaching a lot more people by doing this. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to serve you all. And if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to me via LinkedIn. At this point, that's all I have. It's the only platform that I'm completely active on. Search Silvius Grant, Silvius, last name Grant, Grant, just like Grant Cardone. My last name is Grant, okay? Search me on LinkedIn, contact me there, and I'm going to be able to answer a lot of questions, all right? Thank you very much for spending your time with me. Looking forward for our next episode, and I'm going to start bringing in some guests, and it's going to be all about commercial real estate. Welcome on board, and thank you all for watching.